Welcome to a Stuart No. 4 model steam engine restoration. This is part 4, fitting some main bearing oilers and commencing reassembly. Before I can start the reassembly process, I have to take off another part, another couple of parts. These are the bearing top caps, and unlike Stuart 5A engines, these are not separate top caps that hold a bearing in place. The top cap is one half of the bearing, which is quite common on a few Stuart models. What I find puzzling though with an engine of this quality is the hole in the centre of the bearing. Look where it is, it's over one side. This could be due to the correction of an error when the builder machined the sole plate, the cast iron part. That could have been machined slightly off centre, so he compensated when he machined the bearing. And it's not a major problem because this is covered by the flywheel and there's only you and I know that it's not right. And whichever way you look at it, from the left or the right, it is in the correct place relative to the rest of the engine, so it's not a massive issue at all. These bolts were quite fiddly to get out. I didn't want to spanner them all the way, and finally I got them loose enough to be able to take them off with my vice-like grip, which I suppose is one of the benefits of being a keyboard player. Apart from good manual dexterity, I have quite a powerful grip. With the top cap removed, I'm just using a cloth to wipe away the oil so I can see the condition of the crankshaft, and it's very good. So I'm going to fit a couple of drip feed oilers, and I bought these from 21st Century Steam. My friend Chris, who owns 21st Century Steam, can be contacted via email on steam.engine.com@hotmail.com. He was telling me he's trying to find the time to get round to putting a website up, but until there is a website, if you email him on steam.engine.com@hotmail.com, you too can buy some of these beautiful oilers, and they cost £24 per pair. And they're fully dismantleable. The glass is definitely glass, it's not plastic. 2 O-rings and lots of brass parts, very easy to clean and put back together, and they're great little items. I always use these, I think they're good. If I want to be picky, this particular size are too big for a number 4, the more suited to a number 5A. The thing is though, this engine is going to be a working engine that will be driving a generator, so I wanted some oilers that held plenty of oil. There are 3 versions of these oilers available. These are the large ones, then there's a medium one, and then the tiny ones which are suitable for 10Vs, 10Hs and double 10s, etc. In this next clip I'm using my wiggler, as usual in a very unorthodox fashion. Out of interest, I looked at a few YouTube tutorials about how to use centre finders or wigglers or wobblers, and they're many and varied, but most of them presume that you've got a really high grade machine, or at least a machine with a digital readout. My less than accurate drilling machine doesn't have a digital readout. In fact, it doesn't have much of a readout at all on the crossvice. But either way, I managed to find the centre of the work, using my wiggler and a bit of feel. And as it turns out, the hole was already in the centre, so I just drilled down and threaded it 1/4 by 40, which is the thread of the large oilers. I then fitted a copper washer and tightened the oiler in place, but I forgot to oil it, so I put some oil in it to make sure there's a good amount of oil on the crankshaft before I spin it up. And at the moment I'm retightening the bolts that hold down the top bearing cap. And as I've warned many times, never over tighten these bolts, because otherwise pressure of the bolts may distort the soft gunmetal bearing, and then you will get some excess friction that you don't want. As I don't want to show the drilling and threading process twice, you'll have to believe me when I say, here's one I prepared earlier. 2 things that you should know about drip feed oilers. The first thing is they're very good. You can get a controlled amount of oil to the bearing, and that's good. But if after the run you forget to shut the needle valve, when you look at the engine the next day, there's no oil left in the oilers and there's a nice pool of oil below the bearings on the bench. So with both bearing top caps now fitted back in place, complete with the drip feed oilers, I can fit the flywheel key using a piece of brass bar and tapping it lightly with a hammer. And now it's gasket time. I'm using my ink pad, and this time rather than putting the engine onto the ink pad, I'm putting the ink pad onto the engine, but unfortunately the ink pad is getting very dry. Can you believe it? I stored the ink pad on a shelf above the radiator. That's why it's dried up a bit, so I'll have to buy another one. But luckily there's still enough of an image to show me where the bolt holes need to be punched out and the shape of the gasket that I will be cutting out with a pair of scissors. Sometimes I'm just unlucky. I once bought a non-stick frying pan, but unfortunately it was so bad I couldn't peel the label off it. Anyway, that's enough of that. So what I'm doing at the moment is I'm using a scalpel to cut out the middle part of the gasket. And if you're using one of these scalpels, it's very important to wear eye protection. I say this every time. But if you don't, and the blade flies off and hits you in the eye, then you're going to resemble a pirate or Admiral Lord Nelson. And if anyone just for a laugh slides the eye patch onto the other eye, you'll think you've gone blind. I'm cleaning up the inside edge of the gasket, and I'm just using a piece of wet or dry sandpaper and rotating it just to get rid of any rough edges. And now I'm cutting out the gasket. I don't need the shape of the steam chest, so I'm cutting round that, but I'm purposely cutting it larger than I need. I don't want to undercut the gasket. Once the gasket is fitted and the steam chest cover is bolted to the cylinder, then all I need to do is run round the edge with a sharp knife, like this scalpel to the right of the picture, and it will trim the gasket automatically. When I try the gasket in position on top of the cylinder, it's a perfect fit. So on with the next job, fitting the cylinder cover. I'm going to show a specific way of fitting the cylinder cover that some experts may not like, but I don't care. This stuff's called bond lock, and it's 603 bond lock, which is an alternative, and it's almost identical to Loctite 603. I just happened to be at a place where I bought some bearings, and I thought I'd try it. It tasted the same as Loctite 603, but it wasn't quite as sweet as Loctite 542. So what I've done is I've chopped down some bolts, and I'm using the threaded part and some bond lock to lock the threaded part to a nut. So really I'm making some custom bolts that look like studs when they're in position. And I'm really sorry about this, I couldn't help myself. But now look at the effect. Every one of these studs is a carbon copy of the one next door to it, and they look quite good. And who's to know? Apart from you and I. And the good thing is they're hardly likely to ever shear off in the casting, because when you remove them, they come out quite easily. One of the studs didn't go into the hole to the correct depth, so what I did was I used a drill to check the depth of the hole, and then I realised that it just needed threading all the way to the bottom. It had only been threaded halfway down. So I used a 4BA tap to thread it, and now this stud screws into place just as well as the others did. At the moment I'm having a final check to make sure that the studs are tightened evenly. In this clip, I'm running around the edge with the scalpel to remove any surplus gasket material. And as usual, every time I work with this scalpel, I wear eye protection. There are two more gaskets to make. One for the steam chest and one for the steam chest cover. But I'm using the steam chest cover to make the template. And once again, because I was stupid enough to put the ink pad above the radiator in the workshop, I'm not getting a very good image, but it's just good enough for me to see. The first thing to do is to punch out all the holes. But now I'm having to put a lot of pressure on the punch, and that's because the punch is full. The punch tube is completely full of previous cuttings from gaskets. So I'm just using a small bolt to push them out. And here they are, falling all over the bench. Now it's time to refit the studs to the cylinder, and it seems to me that there's a correct and an incorrect way of doing this. If you look at a stud, normally the thread on one end is much longer than the thread on the other end, and my logic tells me that the shorter threaded end is the thread that goes into the cast iron, and the longer part is the part that sticks out the front. That gives you a little bit more flexibility with the nut that's going to go on the end of there. If you do it the other way around, you will end up with studs not looking like they're the same length. And also, when you put the nut on the end of the stud, if the nut bottoms out on the main shaft, when you remove it again, it will pull out the stud as well. In this clip, I'm using the steam chest cover to gently press the gasket onto the studs. The holes in the gasket material have been punched very fractionally larger than they need to be, just to make it easy to get the gasket on and off should I need to do that. At the moment, I'm lubricating the slide valve because this is going to go into position and be sliding on the port face. And now I'm fitting the steam chest in position, and that goes in okay. It's a very firm fit, so I'm going to use my newly acquired rubber mallet to tap it in place. A small rubber-faced hammer like this is a very useful tool. It's not going to do any damage, well, not unless you go mad and really hit it very, very hard, but hitting it sensibly, just tapping it with the mallet, doesn't cause any problems but seats the steam chest perfectly on the port face of the main steam cylinder casting. As a temporary measure, I'm fitting the steam chest cover using just 4 4BA bolts. This is only a temporary measure because I will be needing to remove the steam chest cover to set the valve timing. and now the steam chest cover is held firmly in place, eye protection is engaged, and I'm using the scalpel to trim off the excess gasket material. Before I finish assembling this engine, I have to do some remedial work. The valve fork is okay, the actual eccentric rod is too thin, and it's not going to wear well. So what I propose to do is first of all to machine a phosphor bronze bush that fits perfectly in the valve fork, and then enlarge the hole in the eccentric rod to take the bush. That way there will be a larger surface area in contact with the pin. And then after setting the valve timing and a test run on compressed air, I will be fitting this Stuart No. 4 steam engine onto the baseboard of the 504 boiler plant, ready to run. But that's it for the moment. Thanks for watching, and I hope you found it useful.